My name's Butch Maslin. I'm alcoholic. Hi, everybody. Nicole said, I haven't spent much time with you. She said, I don't know what to say to introduce you. And I said, well, why don't you just make something up? Because I'm gonna. I want to thank Nicole and the committee for the opportunity and privilege of being here and taking part in the conference this weekend. When I say that to you, I'm not saying it because it sounds nice. I'm not saying it because I need you to like me. I'm saying it because I mean it from the very bottom of my heart. I'm a guy who considers it a privilege to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm a guy who considers it a privilege to come here and be with you fine people, so I want to thank you for that opportunity. This has just been, I was sitting there, and this is as healthy a convention that I have been at in a long time. And when I say that, what I mean by that is it became very evident through this weekend and was really brought together in the countdown. Because you can tell healthy Alcoholics Anonymous when you see the different links. What I mean by that is I sometimes, Bill, you've seen this, you go to conferences and 80% of the people there, or 90% of the people are sober 20 years and older, and there's a couple of handfuls of people in early sobriety, and that's unhealthy. This is as healthy a convention as I've been at in a long time, and I'll tell you, I am happy to be here. I am happy to be here. I want to welcome those people in their first year at Alcoholics Anonymous. Welcome, welcome. You are in a good place. Those chairs that you are sitting in are healing chairs, if you deem them to be so. If you deem them to be so. So it is, it's good, and I as well want to thank, I know that you don't have any selfish alcoholics in the United States. But in Canada, we have a lot of selfish alcoholics, And it's sometimes very easy for me to come to things like this and enjoy a wonderful weekend and listen to wonderful AA and Al-Anon talks and have food and fellowship and a great weekend and get in my car on Sunday and drive home and sometimes forget all the hard work that has been done on our behalf. Because these things just don't happen overnight. There's been people all year long. Not just this weekend, all year long getting together in committee meetings and planning. There were people here before you and I got here setting this up, and there will be people here when you and I leave on Sunday that are still here tearing it down. There's been people giving up their entire weekend to sit out at those registration desks and greet us and stuff, and I want to thank those people from the bottom of my heart for your service. I have always been much more impressed by what I see you do rather than what I hear you say. I have always had the ability to sound better than I really am, including tonight. So I want to thank you. It has been wonderful. I've enjoyed all the talks, the AA and Al-Anon, and this has been I happened to hear Nicole said that she really enjoyed all the speakers so far. I don't know about you and me, Bill. We might be in trouble. But it has been wonderful. I want to thank the folks, mostly that were at the doors to greet me as I got here, and all of us. See, I'm a guy that thinks that's probably one of the most important things that we can do in Alcoholics Anonymous. The single most important thing that we can do in Alcoholics Anonymous is to be at that door and our home group doors when that new guy or new gal walk through that door for their first day. Because an in-depth version of step 4 doesn't mean much to that young lady. But a warm handshake, welcome, come on in and get a cup of coffee and sit here with us means a great, great deal. And I want to thank you for that. My home group's the Three Legacy Group, Alcoholics Anonymous. We meet on Mondays and Thursday nights. I belong to a strong group, Alcoholics Anonymous. I used to say I belong to the best group in the world. I don't say that any longer. I find it very arrogant of me. I belong to a strong AA group. I belong to a group where all three legacies are in place, where it's not just about personal recovery, but where we operate under the umbrella of our 12 traditions, where our traditions are in place and we run our meetings under those traditions, where unity is there and service, where it's just not the same 2 or 3 or 4 people always doing the stuff, but we work together as a group. As a group, we go into detox and put in meetings. As a group, we have car people that bring the new people from the detox to our meetings every Monday and Thursday, and we operate and function as a group. I belong to a group that starts on time and finishes on time. I belong to a group that has structure in it. I belong to a group we know months in advance who's going to chair that meeting and who's going to come talk. So when those new people come, we know that they're going to hear a message of recovery that night. I belong to a group where there's enthusiasm in the room, like has it been here this weekend and here tonight. I'm a guy that believes enthusiasm is contagious. I believe that enthusiasm for new people is one of the most important things that we can give them. That laughter, that excitement, that energy in the room and stuff. And I believe that when a new guy or new gal walk into an environment such as that, when those things are in place, their chances of recovery become much greater than if they walk into a room where none of that's in place. So it is good to be here when all of that is here this weekend and stuff. I want to thank the committee. The committee knows this, but you folks, just to show you the type of people who are looking after us, for sending my wife flowers at our home. My wife was delivered flowers. I hadn't even left Toronto Airport. She phoned. She said, "You're not going to believe this." But see, I already knew. I said, "No, what is it?" And the committee here sent flowers and thanked her for allowing me to come here and be part of this weekend. That's a class act. That's a class act. Because if we are going to stay sober in Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon, our families make sacrifices so that we can be active members of our programs and stuff, and that's a good deal. I love that countdown to see 2 days and 51 years, Bill. I have a deep love in my heart for the old-timers in Alcoholics Anonymous, deep, deep love. Men and women who've been sober 20, 30, and 40 and 50 years. Who've made sacrifices and commitments to Alcoholics and Al-Anons who would be here for people like me and that young lady. I love them from the bottom of my heart. And if you're new to Alcoholics Anonymous, I would urge you to get close to these men and women and learn from their experience, because we're not going to have them with us forever. My sponsor was an old-timer in Alcoholics Anonymous. My sponsor came to Alcoholics Anonymous on July the 17th, 1958. And he was an active member in Alcoholics Anonymous until the day he passed away on June the 10th, 2004. And when I say active, I mean active. And one of the great joys of my AA life, I've had many, but one of the great joys, Hank, in my AA life was traveling with that old man. He took me everywhere with him. Took me everywhere, all over the place. It was a great joy in my life. And after I was sober for a little while and would get asked to come up to the front of one of these rooms, he knew how nervous I'd get before coming up here. And he'd sit beside me in that meeting before my name was called, and he'd rub my back. Aww. Aww. They cry at Al-Anon, Bernadette, when I do that. And he'd say, "I know it doesn't feel like it, kid, but I'm with you every step of the way." And I'd get up to the front of the room and look out, and there he'd be sound asleep in his chair. And we'd drive home, and he'd say, "That was a nice talk, Butch." I'd say, "Thanks, Bobby." It's good. And it is good to be here and see some friends from Wisconsin, some buddies of mine from Cincinnati, and Lyle from Illinois, and a lot of folks that I've met along the way. It's a good deal. When I say that I'm happy to be here, I really am happy to be here. Because alcoholics don't always get where they're going. Drinking alcoholics seldom get where they're going. But sometimes even sober alcoholics don't get where they're going. And I'm going to share a quick story with you about that. I got to first tell you, there was a time in my life I was not allowed in the United States of America. Let me add, nor should I have been. They said, "We have enough people like you here already. We don't need to import them." But I applied to the United States Department of Justice for a waiver that would allow me to come into your great country. I have it right now. It's right up in my room. It's a beautiful piece of paper about that big, calling United States Department of Justice. Has my name on it. Bill. Allows me to come into the USA on humanitarian grounds. I don't even know what that means. But I have it, and every time I come to your great country, I have to show that, and I show that to them, and we talk some, and I usually get here. And so I do. And the other thing is that every time I come here, they want to know where I'm going. Like they don't want to know that I'm going to Tennessee. They don't want to know I'm going to Chattanooga. They want to know precisely where I'm going. I don't know why they want to know that, but they seem to want to know. So anyway, and the other thing is, I don't know about any of you, but I from time to time can misplace things. So when I got that waiver, I made 25 photocopies just to be safe. Anyway, I got to go to a conference one time in Illinois. And I get up, I like to travel early on the day. I don't come here to talk, I come here to listen. I come here to be a part of. And I like to get here early and be taking everything. I haven't missed a thing this week. And anyway, so I get up and I'm getting all my gear together. I can't find my waiver, Bernadette. I said to my wife, I said, where's my waiver? Like it's her job to know where my waiver is. She said, I don't know, Butch, it's wherever you've put it. I said, no, it's not, you've lost it. She said, listen, take one of those photocopies, get going, you're going to miss your flight. So I get that, I get all my gear, I drive to Pearson International Airport. Please don't misunderstand what I'm about to say. Our Border Patrol, Homeland Security do a wonderful job protecting our borders. God bless those men and women. But I think when they go to custom agent school, they teach those people how not to smile. Serious people there. So anyway, I get all my gear, I go up there, I give him all this stuff, I give him my waiver, he looks at it, he says to me, he says, what are you, a criminal? I said, well, perhaps you might have said that at one time. He says to me, he says, this is a photocopy. I said, yes, sir, the original's at home for safekeeping. Lies just fall out of my mouth. That's just natural. Rapid fire. I didn't have to think about it. That's just that. I have to think about truth. Lying, just like that. Come right out of my mouth. He says to me, he says, you can't travel on a photocopy. He said, you have your I-94 form? I pulled out a form. He says, that's the wrong form. He said, you go over there. He said, you got to fill out the right form and you got to go see somebody about this photocopy because you cannot travel on a photocopy. I thought, I'm not going to Illinois today. Anyway, I go over, I fill out that form, and I got one of those keen alcoholic minds that you will only hear about from an alcoholic. You do not hear about the keen alcoholic mind at the Al-Anon meeting, do you, Bernadette? No, no. But I got one of those minds, and I wait and I watch till his line's full, and I see a more gentle man like Hank, and I go to Hank's line. And I give him all the stuff and that, and I give him my gear, and he says to me, he said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Illinois. He said, what's your purpose of business? I said, I'm going to talk at a convention, Alcoholics Anonymous. He said to me, he said, what address are you staying at? Oh, Jesus. I'd forgot to get the address. I said, I don't know. I don't know. He said to me, he said, you don't know where you're going? I said, no. I said, but it's okay because somebody's going to pick me up at the airport and take me there. He says to me, who's picking you up at the airport? I said, I don't know. He said, let me get this straight. Somebody you don't know is picking you up, taking you somewhere you don't know where you're going. I said, yes, sir, that's right. He says to me, what did you say you're going to do again? I said, I'm going to talk at a conference, Alcoholics Anonymous. He says to me, what are you going to talk about? And before I could answer him, he holds up his hands and says, hold it. He said, let me guess. You don't know. So I'm happy to be here tonight. On September the 21st, 1989, two men came to my mother's house. That should tell you something right there, huh? My mother's house. Somewhere every 33-year-old self-respecting alcoholic should be is with Mummy. Two men came to my mother's house practicing Alcoholics Anonymous in its purest form. Those two men came to my mother's house that night, left their homes, made the effort to come to my mom's house and talk to me about their drinking. They did not talk to me about my drinking. They did not tell me I shouldn't drink, I shouldn't drug, I should go to treatment. They didn't tell me nothing. Those two men came to my mother's house that night, talked to me about their drinking, and told me what had happened in their lives since they came to something called Alcoholics Anonymous, and would I like to go to an AA meeting with them. I was a helpless, hopeless, chronic alcoholic. I had been running the streets since I was 13 years old. And those two men came to my mom's house that night, took me to my first meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous, September the 21st, 1989, and I haven't had a drink since that night. I don't know what to tell you about that other than I am incredibly grateful for that experience. Because I know that's not everybody's experience in Alcoholics Anonymous. A lot of people come to Alcoholics Anonymous, return to drinking, and come back to AA. A lot of people come to Alcoholics Anonymous many times and return to drinking and come back to AA. Some people come to Alcoholics Anonymous, return to drinking, and never come back to AA. But that was my experience, and I'm grateful for it. And the other thing that I'm very grateful for is I've loved coming here almost from that first meeting. Almost from that first night, I have loved coming here. I was attracted to you from that first night. I love going to meetings. I love conferences, workshops, service days, assemblies. I love listening to the story of an alcoholic. And the seedier, the better. The seedier, the better. So I have no regrets. I have no regrets since the day I come into Alcoholics Anonymous up till today, other than one. I do have one regret, and that is that I didn't get to drink with some of you people. I don't know if you've ever thought that or not, but I'll tell you something. I've met some people here, Bill? I walked away from thinking I like that little drink with that guy. We are a cast of characters in this outfit. You couldn't make some of this stuff up. You couldn't make some of this stuff. The more money you spend, the more tickets you get. I love it. You could never make it up. I love it. I'll tell you something. I went to an AA thing a number of years ago up in Sault Ste. Marie. It's up in the Canadian-American border up north. And I got up Saturday morning. I went out to get a little breakfast. I was going to talk there that night. I picked up the local paper. I like to read about the community I've been invited to come to. Only seems fitting. And I'm having some breakfast, and I'm reading the paper. On the front page of the paper, there's an article. This is a true story. Well, I hope my whole story is true, but this part is for sure. And there was an article on the front page of the paper. There was a man, they had arrested him, coming across the American-Canadian border, drunk on a stolen street sweeper. And my immediate thought was, I like that little drink with that guy. Teen alcoholic mind. Anyway, we got to... I was 25 years old, and my wife had thrown me out of our home. And I want to tell you that I loved her as much as I was capable of loving at that time. I had a new address every night. I lived in the stairwells of apartment buildings on Eglinton Avenue in downtown Toronto. I just went from building to building. I had a new address each night. And at nighttime, I was under that stairwell, and in the daytime, I was like a rat in a sewer. Out on those streets looking to score, looking to scam, looking to rip somebody off to get the money I needed to get to do the things I needed to do. I hear people in AA talk about AA luggage, matching green garbage bags. I didn't have any AA luggage. Had the clothes on my back. Still had an ultra suede jacket though. Gonna be cool at any expense. I'm 25 years old, I'm living in stairwells, I got the clothes on my back, and nobody wants anything more to do with me. And let me add right now, nor should they. Nor should they. Because alcoholics of my type are users and takers. I use and I take from everybody I come in contact with. Now, it doesn't always appear that way. Because, see, I want everybody to like me. I'm constantly seeking your approval. I'm the guy in the bar buying the drinks for everybody, passing a bag of powder around, everybody's friend, good old Butch. Let me tell you, the only reason I ever did anything for anyone was so you'd like me. Not because I cared about you. I couldn't care less if you lived or died. Made no difference to me. I'm a user and a taker. And let me tell you who I use and take from most. The people who love me, my own family, the people who care the most, because see, they love me so much they can't stop trying. One more time. This time it's going to work. And they keep giving and giving, and I keep taking and taking, till eventually I break their hearts, till eventually they can't take it anymore and they got to push me aside because they can't watch it. And that's where I am, 25 years old. I'm in the East End of Toronto one night and I'm all jacked up and nowhere to go, as I said. And my wife and I owned a home in what they call the Beaches down near the lakefront in Toronto. And we had a screened-in porch with a couple wicker couches on it, and I thought I'm going to slip in there and get a couple hours and get out before she wakes up. Well, I pass out, and I wake up to one of these. And I opened my eyes and looked, and there was that little gal that I loved. And she looked at me with disgust and pity. And she said, "Butch, you're a useless piece of scum, and you will never change. And if you cared anything about me at all, you'd get up and get out of here, and please don't ever come back, because I can't stomach to look at you." And I got up and I left there, and it was a summer day, and it was hot and humid. Not as bad as you got, but hot and humid. And I'm sick, and I'm hungover, and I'm dope sick, and I'm dirty. And I walked down to the lakefront. And I'm sitting down there in the lakefront on a park bench in that condition. And over where Robert's sitting, there was another park bench and a little boy, five or 6 years old, sitting on that bench eating a popsicle. And I looked over at that little boy, and you know what I thought to myself? Wish I had a dime for a popsicle. The big shot. The guy in the bar buying everybody drinks, a dope dealer, everybody's friend, good old Butch, sitting on a park bench wishing he had a dime for a popsicle. Nobody on the face of this earth wanting anything more to do with me. And here was the thought that I had at that moment, as clear as I'm thinking right now. I knew that park bench in places like it was where I was going back to every time. You see, I've always been a talker and a hustler. I knew I'd put a deal together, I'd come up with some cash, I always did. But I knew at that moment that park bench or places like it was where I was going to go back to every single time. And I knew it beyond a shadow of a doubt. I was 25 years old. I came to Alcoholics Anonymous when I was 33. I had 8 more years on those streets. And I will not bore you tonight with a horror story, because I don't believe it would serve any purpose. You see, if you're alcoholic like me, you already know it never gets better. It always gets worse. And I had 8 more years on those streets. I came to Alcoholics Anonymous when I was 33, and I joined a group. And I got a sponsor. And I did the things you guys told me to do. Forget this suggested crap, the stuff you told me to do. You know where I was a handful of years ago? Nicole, you know where I was? Rome, Italy. Rome, Italy. Standing in the Sistine Chapel, looking at the paintings of Michelangelo from hundreds of years before, and my wife standing beside me. And the tears started to pour down my face. And I thought of that guy sitting on the park bench wishing he had a dime for a popsicle. It's a long way from that park bench to the Sistine Chapel in Rome. It is a long way from where we came from. We've heard it all weekend long. It is a long way from where you and I came from. Many of us here tonight, the dredges of society. Many of us here tonight, our own families didn't want us around any longer. Yet here we sit this weekend, members of Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon, living good, rich, full, productive lives. How do we get from where we were to where we sit tonight? How does that happen for people like you and I? Because it's not supposed to. But you know how it happens, don't you? And it only happens one way, and that is through the grace of God. Through a God that you introduced me to through a thing called Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps Alcoholics Anonymous. You sure want to believe that I am grateful to be here and be a part of this deal with you. We better drink quick. I started to drink at an early age. I hear people talk about dysfunctional families. Did I come from a dysfunctional family? I don't know. Let me just tell you, it wasn't the Cleaver residence at my home. There was lots of parties in my home, lots of drinking. Always on a weekend, there was always a party there. And as a little boy, they'd let me play bartender. I could take them beers and take away the empties. And they'd let me have swigs, and they'd say, "Isn't he cute?" And I loved that attention. So I started to drink when I was 4 years old. Now, I wasn't a daily drinker when I was 4. My allowance wouldn't allow it. I actively sought out alcohol. I was, 12 years old or so. I got a guy to go into a liquor store, get us a couple bottles of wine. I was going to be a wine connoisseur. 2 bottles of 4 Aces. I think that's comparable to what you call Thunderbird in your country. And let me tell you, any wine I ever drank had a cap, not a cork. We drank that wine, we got drunk, puked, and passed out, and that was the end of my social drinking. All downhill from there. I hear people in Alcoholics Anonymous, I don't know if you do this in your country or not, but I hear it at home, people in AA meetings saying things like, they came to Alcoholics Anonymous hoping to become a social drinker. Do you ever hear that here? Huh? Came to Alcoholics Anonymous hoping Alcoholics Anonymous was going to teach them how to be a social drinker. Let me tell you tonight, I didn't want to be a social drinker when I drank. I don't want to be a social drinker tonight. I don't particularly like social drinkers. I find them weird. Weird. You ever watch a social drinker drink, huh? They let the ice melt in their glass. That's sick drinking. Sick drink. You ever drink with a social drinker? Huh? That's enough to make you puke, isn't it? You're having a few scoots. Would you like another one? Oh, no thank you. I'm starting to feel it. Oh, really? I thought that's when you put it in overdrive. Social. My wife is a social drinker. My beautiful wife is a social drinker. And I'll tell you this is fairly recent. I was at home one night, Sonia, I was in the living room, and I looked over, it's an open thing. My wife's there, I see a bottle of wine on the counter with a funnel in it. Funnel. I watched. And she takes a glass of wine and she starts pouring it into the funnel. I said, "What are you doing?" She says to me, "I put too much in the glass." I said, "Don't you ever do that again. I will divorce you." Social drinkers. I'm a barroom drinker. I like bars. I don't identify with closet alcoholics. Doesn't mean they're not alcoholic, just drank differently than me. You know, you hear them, they get the bottle, go in and lock the door, put on the country western music. I don't identify. I'm a barroom drinker. I love bars. I like opening the door to a bar. The smoke would billow out, the tinkle of glass, the smell of stale urine. I love it. I love it. I like neon. I like neon when I was drinking. I still like neon. That's why I stay out of those casinos. They're not good for guys like me. And I got to tell you, I thank God I never tried to get sober in the United States of America. I don't know if I'd have made it. God, I love to drink in your country. I love drinking here. You got many more than we have in Canada. I call them juke joints. You know those divey little rat hole joints you see? Those scuzzy little joints? You got a couple here. I saw them. I saw them. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. You know what the neon sign out says? Cocktails. I went to an AA thing a number of years ago in your country. I decided to drive in Pennsylvania. I'm driving, my wife's with me, and I'm driving through this little town in the middle of nowhere. I'm driving down the main street, and all of a sudden I hammer on the brakes of my car. I back my car up. My wife said to me, "Butch, what are you doing?" I said, "I got to see this again." And I'm telling you, gang, there it was. There it was. This divey little scuzzy rat hole joint had a neon sign. Said, "Stop for one, stay till one." If I'd have been drinking, I'd have had that tattooed on me. It's a work of art. Anyway, I'm not going to talk any more about my drinking tonight other than to quickly share with you what drinking does to and for an alcoholic of my type. It is important that we talk about our drinking in Alcoholics Anonymous. That's what makes alcoholics, that's the greatest tool that we have. One alcoholic identifying with another alcoholic. It's important. For you new people, you're going to hear some talkers get up the front of these rooms and say things like, "I don't like drunkalogs." When you hear that, buckle up. Buckle up. You're about to listen to 50 minutes of drinking. It's important that we talk about our drinking for the purpose of identification. That's why we have to have, that's why Alcoholics Anonymous work for alcoholics, other programs work for their problems. We have to have that identification. But I've come to believe in Alcoholics Anonymous, it doesn't matter if I'm drinking Dom Perignon or Aqua Shave. It doesn't matter if I'm drinking in the Fairmont Hotel or under a bridge in a box. It's what drinking does to me that's important. And that's what I quickly want to share with you, particularly for your folks that are new here, what drinking does to and for an alcoholic like me. The things that I'm going to share with you, I did not know this when it was happening. I didn't know this at the time. I saw it in inventory. I saw it as people took me back through my life and helped me see my life honestly for the first time. But I didn't know it then. But as I look back today, I remember being a young boy in school. I'd be in that classroom, I don't know, 10, 11 years old. I'd be sitting in that class, the teacher would be at the front of the room, and she'd ask a question. And she'd start looking around that room to see who she's going to ask to answer that question. And my head goes down like this. Oh, Jesus, don't let her ask me. Because I know if she makes eye contact with me, she's asking me to answer the question, and I don't want to answer the question. It doesn't even matter if I know the answer to the question. When I went to school, we used to have to do book report. Get up in front of the whole classroom full of kids. Oh, no good. No good. I get up in the morning, Ma, I've been puking all night. I'm sick, Ma. I can't go to school. Please don't make me go. Because I want to tell you, I would be absolutely terrified at the thought of getting up in front of that classroom full of kids. Every decision I ever made in my life was based on fear. Most of it unfounded and ungrounded, but fear. Where I go, what I do, who I hang out with is all based on a comfort level. I don't know about any of you guys, but I every now and then would get goofy. I go on about a 5-day bender. I come home, Bill, after 5 days on a Sunday, my wife would be there. I'd say, sweetheart, that's it. No more. No, I know I said it before, but this, no more, never, I swear on my ma's life, I'm never having another drink. That's Sunday. I'd wake up Monday. I'd think to myself, I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. I'd have to go to a wedding that following Saturday. You ever go to a wedding sober? That's a bad deal. I would be at that church sweating, thinking about that reception that's going to start in 3 hours. I'm back at that reception and the dance is going to start and I don't have anything in me and my hands are sweaty. I got a knot in the pit of my gut. I feel awkward and out of place and it's horrible. And I have to do one of two things. I got to get over to that bar and get a couple drinks into me, or I got to get out of there because I can't stand the way I feel. Every decision I make is based on that fear. You want to know what kills an alcoholic like me? I don't even know I'm afraid. I think I'm afraid of nothing, and I'm afraid of everything, and I don't even know it. Huh? I hear a lot of these topic meetings tonight. Let's discuss resentments. Huh? I prefer to call it hate. Hate. I know you're not that sick in Tennessee, but in Canada we are. Hate. I'm the type of alcoholic. I'm out driving my car. I'm on the nod by now, huh? And I'd be at that red light, and that light would turn green, and the guy behind me lays on his horn. Whoa. I almost go through the roof of my car. I want to get out of my car, go back there, open the door, drag him out by his throat, take a crowbar, and crack his skull open. I know some of you spiritual giants never thought thoughts like that, but I do. I'm not talking anger management here. No. I'm talking rage. I'm talking white rage. I'm talking a rage that I don't have 10 minutes before and I don't have 10 minutes after. I'm talking a rage that at certain times comes out and I say things and do things to people I never wanted to say or do, and I can't control it. And let me tell you who takes the brunt of my rage if you're like me. If you're constantly seeking approval, if you're wanting everybody to like you, you don't display that rage out there. You keep it for behind closed doors. It's the people who love me and care about me that take the brunt of my anger. Lonely. I'm 25 years old. I'm standing at a subway platform in downtown Toronto on a Friday night, all jacked up and nowhere to go, as I said. And a train pulled up and the doors opened and a young couple my age got off that train holding hands and walked off into the night laughing and smiling. And I looked at that couple and God, I felt sad. I thought, why can't I be like those people? Why has all this trouble got to keep happening? I remember walking through a nice residential area on a warm summer's night. You know, you get that nice August night and it's just getting dark and a warm breeze. And I'd walk down the street and I'd see the nice homes. And I'd see the television on inside and the families in there. And I feel like crying. Why can't I just have a nice home and a family like other people? Why has all the trouble got to keep happening time and time again? From as long as I can ever remember, I was restless, irritable, and discontented. If I was drinking at this bar, I'd say, guys, drink up, let's go to that bar. If we're at this party, I'd say, let's go down to that party. If I'm married to you, I should be married to her. Never quite right. And I don't know about you guys, but I'll tell you, I get one of those double vodkas or whatever I'm doing that day. It was like this. Here, I don't know if you remember or not. I'll give you one more. Here. Oh. Boy, I did that in a meeting one night. 2 guys got up and left. You should see when I do that at Detox. Oh, they're on the ceiling. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Anyway, let me tell you something. I have a couple of those double vodkas, and I walk into that wedding like I own the joint. Huh? And I am moving and grooving. And I'm talking to the ladies, and I'm sitting with my buddies, and we're drinking and snorting and carrying on. And at that moment, everything in my life is absolutely perfect. And my perception of reality changes. Same wedding, same people, same dance, same everything, but you put 3 vodkas into me, and that whole thing looks different. And I get an immediate sense of ease and comfort. And that is why I drink whiskey, because I like the effects produced by it. But I'm alcoholic. Something happens to me that only happens to 1 out of every 10 people that drink it, called a phenomenon of craving. And I'd start drinking. I'd end up drinking 60 ounces of vodka, and I'd smash up my car. I go out after work for a few beers with my buddies. I go on a 5-day bender. I get fired from my job. I tell my wife I'm going out for a loaf of bread. I run into Bill. I come home 6 months later. My wife's leaving. I'm out there drinking, partying, carrying on. I got no money. I don't want to stop, so I'm stealing yours, and now I go to jail. And what everybody focused on in my life was crash cars, broken marriages, lost jobs, going to jail. We looked at drinking. We never looked at alcoholism. And people told me from the time I was 18 years old, Butch, if you just quit drinking whiskey and sticking needles in your arms, you'd be all right. And there was times I wasn't drinking whiskey or sticking needles in my arms, and guess what? I wasn't all right. As a matter of fact, I was crazier sober than I ever was when I drank. But all those well-meaning people could see, and they were well-meaning, was that when I drank, the trouble that followed. So naturally, they said, stop drinking. But those well-meaning people didn't understand how I feel when I'm sober. How could they know? I didn't even know. I would love to stand up here tonight and tell you I woke up one morning, HFC Finance was dying to lend me money. Work was thinking of promoting me. And my wife was sending me flowers. And I thought, I think I'll join AA today. Huh? Every now and then I hear some moron from the front of one of these rooms say things like, if you're not here for the right reasons, you might as well drink. And every now and then I'd like to get that tire iron back out. Huh? The right reasons? Did you come to Alcoholics Anonymous for the right reasons? I come to Alcoholics Anonymous because I had nowhere else to go. My boss called me into work on a Tuesday. He said, Butch, you're a hard worker. I said, well, thank you. He said, but you're not here much. Picky. He said, do you think you might have a problem with alcohol? I said, no, but I know what the problem is. He said, maybe you'd share that with me. I said, it's my health. He said, really? I said, yes. Now, granted, my poor health may have something to do with my drinking. I'm going to quit drinking. My health's going to get better, and everyone's going to be okay. He said, you think you might need some help quitting drinking? I said, no, I'm just going to quit. Got up and left his office was to find out later his wife had been a member of Alcoholics Anonymous for a number of years. Can you imagine the chuckle he had as I left? Huh? Oh. He's just going to quit. That was Tuesday. I woke up Thursday in another hotel room in another town drunk. I didn't keep him waiting long. And for whatever the reason, that morning I woke up, I knew the jig was up. I knew it was up this time. I had used all the lies. Alcoholics are liars, huh? I don't know what that's about, but I'll lie when the truth will serve me better. Pathological liar. I am the type of alcoholic that goes out and plays golf all by himself and cheats on the scorecard. I do. That's not the best part. At the end, I look at the card and go, good game, Butch, good game. So I've used all the lies. I know I'm in trouble. I got to come up with something good. I had a few tequilas. I turned my mind to it. I thought, I know what I'll tell them. I'm alcoholic and I'm going to go to AA. And that is how I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. And for anybody here tonight who's new, we couldn't care less why you're here. We couldn't care less. We're just glad to see you. We're just glad to see you. And maybe, just maybe by the grace of God, something someone will say, something you'll hear, something you'll read, and the miracle of Alcoholics Anonymous can happen in your life, and you can go on to live a happy and useful life like so many men and women have been able to do. Just keep coming. Just keep coming. And as I said in the beginning, I've been a blessed man since the day I come to Alcoholics Anonymous. Deep love for the old-timers. Deep, deep love. I've heard people in Alcoholics Anonymous say you should never put people on pedestals. Well, you do what you need to do. But let me tell you something. I have some people on pedestals, giants in our programs. Some of them here, right here this weekend. Giants. Never for a moment have I lost sight of their humanity. You want to know the greatest gift my sponsor ever gave me, Bobby Dobson, the greatest thing? It wasn't some profound thing he pulled out of the book, some divine piece of wisdom he laid on me. The greatest gift my sponsor ever gave me was he allowed me to see his warts. He allowed me to see him get afraid. He allowed me to see him get angry. He allowed me to see him get selfish. He allowed me to see him get lustful. He allowed me to see all of him. Because if he hadn't, and you don't continue to, I will never measure up. We are much more brothers and sisters in our defects than we are in our virtues, aren't we? And I had some giants come into my life, none more than my own sponsor. I've heard people in Alcoholics Anonymous say, if you like your sponsor, you have the wrong sponsor. I hear that and I know I'm listening to an idiot. Idiot. I didn't like my sponsor. I loved my sponsor, and I love my sponsor today. You were the very first people who helped me understand what my problem was. Because I don't know about any of you, but when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous, I didn't have a clue. Not a clue. I had been told what my problem was. A lot of people told me what my parents told me what my problem was. My wife told me, judges told me, psychiatrists told me. I'd been told all my life what my problem was. Just quit drinking, you'll be okay. You were the first people that said, kid, drinking's not your problem. It's your solution. You see, how I feel when I'm sober is my problem. I am restless, irritable, and discontent. And I have to drink again. I don't have a choice whether I drink or not. I have lost the power in choice. That's what makes me alcoholic. That is the difference between me and the hard drinker. I don't have a choice. You see, an alcoholic of my type, not drinking and not treating alcoholism, and sitting in AA meetings does not treat alcoholism. That is the great myth that kills many alcoholics. The meetings are where the solution is. The meetings are where the fellowship is. The 12 Steps to Alcoholics Anonymous treat alcoholism. And me, not drinking and not treating alcoholism, will get so restless, irritable, and discontent that I have to do one of two things. I don't have a choice. I have to do one or the other. Either blow my brains out or drink again. Most of us drink again. But we all know someone who's paid the supreme sacrifice. We all know someone. Didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue. You told me that selfishness and self-centeredness was the root of my troubles. I didn't come to AA and do an inventory and go, my, Butch, you haven't been a very nice boy. It was not news to me that I was a lying, cheating thief. I knew that. But I had absolutely no idea of the depth of selfishness and self-centered in me. If you'd have asked me the day I come to Alcoholics Anonymous, Butch, what kind of a guy are you? You know what I'd have said to you, Sonia? I'd have said, I'm a good guy. I'm a good man. And you could have hooked me up to a lie detector test and asked me that question, and that needle would not budge, because I believed that. And I'll tell you why I believed it. You see, I always judged myself by my intentions. You see, my intentions were always good. Unfortunately, the world judges us by our actions, and my actions and intentions never lined up. Selfishness and self-centeredness, the root of my troubles. And you told me that I had to be rid of this, or else it would kill me. And there seems no way of doing it without God's help. Without God's help. And you gave me a foundation in Alcoholics Anonymous. A foundation. You taught me what it meant to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, a member of a home group. Not just running around sucking everything I could out of AA meetings, but being an active participating member in a home group. You taught me what it meant to be an informed member of Alcoholics Anonymous, so I could go to my business meetings and make an informed decision. So I don't just put my hand up because Vivian puts her hand up, but an informed member of Alcoholics Anonymous. You encourage me to start to read and understand and apply our traditions, not only in our fellowship, but in our life. I believe that our 12 traditions, when practiced as life, are just as much a deflator of ego as our steps ever are. If I could just live my life under the first tradition, that our common welfare comes first, I will be a much better human being. And you encourage me to start to understand. You encourage me to start to read about our history. AA comes of age, Dr. Bob and the good old timers, pass it on. You said, if you're going to spend your life in Alcoholics Anonymous, would you not like to know where you came from? Would you not like to know what was done on your behalf so we could sit in Chattanooga, Tennessee tonight and enjoy this beautiful weekend? And you gave me that foundation. And you told me that Alcoholics Anonymous is a program of action. You told me that what we have here is a set of principles that are spiritual in their nature. And if I would practice them as a way of life, not sitting talking about them, analyzing them and discussing them, but if I would start to practice them as a way of life, would remove the obsession to drink and get a load of this, allow me to live happily and usefully whole. All I ever wanted, in all the mayhem that went on, in all the lives I ran over and ran through, all I was ever trying to do was to be okay, And you told me that you had a design for living, and if I would start to practice it a way of life, would allow me to live happily and usefully whole. Action. And you told me that that's to get rid of that selfishness, self-centered. And the changes are small. They start small and they start to grow and they start to build. You taught me basic things. You told me to come to my meeting early, go to the washroom, get your coffee, sit down and be quiet. Maybe you don't want to listen to what's going on in that meeting, Butch, but maybe those folks sitting there would like to. And for once in your life, why don't you think of someone else other than yourself? It was true. I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I had a sewer for a mouth. I'd been on the street since I was 13 years old. I didn't know any other way to talk. And nobody embarrassed me in an AA meeting. Nobody humiliated me or centered me out. But after the meeting, you took me aside with love and kindness. And you said, kid, this isn't a juke joint bar room you're sitting in now. This is Alcoholics Anonymous. This is a classy organization of ladies and gentlemen. And we don't use that language in AA. Maybe that language doesn't bother you, Butch, but maybe it bothers that gentleman sitting there. And for once in your life, why don't you think of someone else? It was true. And the changes started small and they started to grow. And you started to take me through this process. I think one of the greatest disservices we do is give people a book and say, here, go do this. And we kill them. You see, I suffer from a disease of perception. I, at times, cannot differentiate the truth from the false, drunk or sober. I need your guidance. I thank God that I didn't hear some of that quit lip crap that I hear in AA. Oh, just don't drink and go to the meeting. She'll be all right. Isn't that a nice little out for me now that my life's better, that I could sit at home on a Saturday night and watch my flat screen TV? No. The people who came into my life said, kid, you have a lot more wrong with you than drinking. You come with us and we're going to show you what you got to do to get well. And they took time out of their lives and they took me through this process. You took me through this process. You told me that the purpose of this whole thing was to allow me to find a power greater than myself that would solve my problem. That was the purpose of the steps. And you took me through, and you took me through an inventory. And you took me through the amends process. Incredibly freeing process. Incredibly freeing process. I don't know about any of you, but I'm going to tell you something. My entire life before coming to Alcoholics Anonymous, and for some time in Alcoholics Anonymous, and still can be today, I've always felt either better than or less than. When I was a kid in school, they had the kids that did well and belonged on the teams and the clubs and stuff, the goofs. I hated those kids' guts. You want to know why? I didn't know then, I know today. I didn't feel as good as those kids. And then they had the kids behind the school were starting to smoke and drink and cutting up. I hung out with those kids because I felt a little sharper than most of those kids. But my entire life, every person I ever met, the minute I meet you, I immediately size myself up. Always. Not consciously. I do this. I don't operate consciously. I don't do that. But I immediately, and I'm always better than or less than. And you took me through that process. You took me through the amends. And I started to get free. And I started to get clean. And I was able to be just one among many. And I can look you in the eye. No better than and no less than. Just a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Just one of God's kids, just like you. Incredibly freeing. And something that's been important as time has gone on, I've listened to the people debate in a meeting for 45 minutes whether they were recovered or recovering. Jesus, Murphy. Smoke starts coming out my ears, for God's sake. Our book's very, very clear on that. But I'll tell you what you did show me in the book. You showed me in the book where it says it is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and to rest on our laurels. And if I do, I'm headed for trouble because I am not cured of alcoholism. Not cured. What I have is a daily reprieve that's contingent upon the maintenance of my spiritual condition. And I want to tell you something. Sometimes the longer I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous, sometimes the longer I'm in Alcoholics, the easier it is for me to become critical and judgmental. I know you'd never do that in Tennessee. I know. Sometimes the longer I'm here, sometimes look what's going on. Look what that couple's doing over there. Look at that, Sometimes the longer I'm here, the harder it is for me to be truthful with you. Sometimes the longer I'm sober, the harder it is for me to come to you and tell you I'm dying inside and I don't know what to do. Because I've been sober for a while and I'm an active member of AA and I want you to think I have it all together. It's easy to let up on the spiritual program action. I can't remember what time we started, but Victor, you yell at me. Keep going, okay. Well, I'm keeping going, but let me when I'm close. We have a lot of speaker meetings at home in my area, and I love speaker meetings. I love speaker meetings. I love the fellowship. I think I'm a guy that believes in the book Alcoholics Anonymous. Trust me, I'm a book guy. I'm a program guy. But I think sometimes today we're getting awfully mechanical. We're getting awfully mechanical and sometimes forget the power in fellowship, the power of one alcoholic listening to the story of another alcoholic. Anyway, we have a lot of speaker meetings, and I don't know if you do this in your country, but at home when we celebrate our birthdays, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15 year, you get to pick the speaker and the players in the meeting, and you get a cake and that, and it's a nice little deal. And anyway, we have a noon meeting every day at home. I don't get to that meeting. My sponsor insisted I work, but anyway. They had the meeting, and there was a guy, he was going to have his 1 year birthday, and he came to me. I didn't know this guy too good, but he came to me and said, Butch, would you come and talk at my 1 year AA birthday? I said, I'd be honored to do that. I'd love to come. And anyway, I went to his birthday and stuff, and the meeting was starting and that, and they call him to the front of the room with his sponsor to present him with his 1 year. And sitting in the front row where the gang are, his wife was sitting there, and his daughter, and his son and his granddaughter were sitting there in the front row. And he was presented his 1 year medallion. And as the tears poured down his face, he tried the best he could to thank his group and the people for all they had given him. And you and I have watched that hundreds of times, haven't we? Thousands of times, huh, Bill? And yet, many of those same men and women turn and walk away from AA. Isn't it incredible that so many people come here and for the very first time in their life find a solution to their problem? That so many people come here and for the very first time find a place where they belong, where they start to find some peace and some happiness in their life. So many people come here and find all of that and then turn and walk away and go back to that hell. Why would we ever do that? I believe that we start doing it the minute I start to let up on the spiritual program of action. Does that mean if I stop taking the action today, I'll be drunk next Wednesday? I don't think so. But very slowly and very subtly, I will start getting restless, irritable, and discontent. You see, I cannot stay spiritually fit because I used to be a GSR. I cannot stay spiritually fit because I used to go to the detox. I cannot stay spiritually fit because I used to work with new people. Alcoholics Anonymous and my spiritual condition is maintained by the actions that I take today and each and every day in this program. Each and every day. I better talk fast. Incredible process. And you took me through and you introduced me to a God. You introduced me to a God. You know, if you'd have said to me when I come to Alcoholics Anonymous, do you believe in God? I would have said yes. I was never a disbeliever. Never. And God was something way up there in the sky with the long hair and a beard. Charlton Heston. Huh? Chuck Chamberlain, somebody was mentioning that. Chuck used to say that we have one problem and only one problem. And from that one problem comes all other problems. And that one problem is a conscious separation from God. If God's way up there and I'm down here, have you ever heard more of a conscious separation in your life? You were the first people that said to me, deep down inside, with every man, woman, and child, is the fundamental idea of God. And the great reality is that our Creator has entered our hearts and lives in a way that is indeed miraculous. And you have introduced me to a power. And the great reality of my life today is that that power is in my life and takes care and gives me every good thing in my life. Every good thing. I just got to get out of the way. God, you've been so good to me. And the great paradox, Alcoholics Anonymous, you told me if I want to keep it, I got to give it away. Nothing ensures immunity from drinking like intensive work with other alcoholics. Intensive work. When all else fails, this works. The occasional good deed is not enough. Our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depends upon our constant thought of others. Unless I continue to enlarge and perfect on my spiritual life through unselfish acts and helping others, I will surely drink when we hit those certain low spots. And if you're an Alcoholics Anonymous and fortunate enough to be sober for a couple or a handful of years and everything has just been going great, buckle up. Buckle up. Because life will happen. Life will happen. Incredible gift. Do we got 5 minutes left? No? Okay. Incredible gift. We've been given much, haven't we? We've listened all weekend long. You will hear tomorrow. Well, you know, we could go to the folks tonight in our home group and say, how's your life since coming to Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon Humperdinck? You know the answers we hear. It's the greatest thing in the world. It's the best thing that ever happened. If we hadn't been given enough already, and we have been given much, haven't we? You and I are then given the ability to save people's lives. That's not an ego statement. That is a statement of gratitude. That is a statement of humility. You see, you and I, when armed with facts about ourselves, that's what the 12 steps do in my life. That's the purpose of those steps, to arm me with facts about myself, so that I then can go out and be of maximum service to God and those about us. I can be much more effective when I understand it and see it in me, so I can help you see it in you. You and I are able to make the difference in a few short hours when nobody else was able to. And until such an understanding we can get to, very little can be done. Incredible gift we've been given. Incredible gift. It says in our book that alcoholics laugh at sometimes seemingly tragic situations. You ever wonder sometimes what visitors think of us? Having one of those birthdays and that, some family member comes, maybe some friends from work, never been to AA, don't know anything about AA. Some monkey like me gets up here and says things like, yes, I bought a brand new Cadillac. I picked it up at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning and totaled it at 10. We all laugh. I told my wife I was going out with her for a loaf of bread. I ended up in Alaska, come on, 18 months later. I've been in 18 treatment centers. I've had 42 shock treatments. I'm still twitchy. We all laugh. I got a buddy, Doug Rawl talks. That Doug talks about spilling a bottle of whiskey in his bed and then sucking it out of the sheets. Imagine what those visitors might be thinking. Says we laugh at sometimes seemingly tragic situations. You know what it says after that? Of course you do. You've read the book. It says, why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Because we have recovered and been given the power to help others. God's power, not my power, God's power. Incredible gift. My life before... My life, two things, I promise. We're going to get some music and stuff and lots to do. Lots to do. That's beautiful music. That's beautiful. No. Those people are sitting there getting antsy. No. Shh. My life before coming to Alcoholics Anonymous had absolutely no meaning or no purpose to it whatsoever. None. I don't know what your life was like. It's none of my business, but none. I was either drunk, planning on getting drunk, recovering from being drunk. In trouble, trying to get out of trouble, planning on more trouble. I worked all week so I could get drunk all weekend, I work to get money to drink. I deal to do. All the people in my life are the same. Alkies don't hang out with social drinkers. No meaning, no purpose. I go to a detox at home, not because I'm some saint, not because I'm some wonderful human being. I do it because it's the way I've been taught. I am the product of strong sponsorship, and I believe in strong sponsorship. And I'm a guy that believes that without strong sponsorship, our chances of recovery are almost nil. Almost nil. Anyway, I go to that detox and that, and I go there, and I go Mondays. I'll be there Monday, 2 o'clock. Been doing it over 20 years. And I go Sundays if I'm at home, because we have a big speaker meeting, this many people, every Sunday. And I like to take new people to speaker meetings so they can listen. I happen to think it's good for new people to listen. I know it's not that fashionable today, but I happen to think it's good. Anyway, I go there one day, there's a guy in there, and he's in bad shape. I'm not talking detoxing, hungover. I'm talking physically bad shape. I thought this guy might die. He might not make it. Well, I figured to myself, he could die at the meeting as easy as he can die here. Dying's dying, huh, Hank? You got to do her somewhere, so I took him to the meeting. We took in a meeting. After the meeting, we spent a couple hours together talking about this design for living, this practical program action. I left him. I never saw him again. I'm sitting in a meeting one day. I see some guy coming across the room. I could see he's headed for me, clean-cut looking guy. Come walking up. He said, Butch, he said, you probably don't remember me. I said, I'm sorry, I can't say that I do, but I meet a lot of people. He says, my name's Ziggy. I went, holy smokes. That's not really what I said. That's what I'm saying here. He said, you remember me? I said, oh, I remember you, and it's the guy, and he's looking good. He said, Butch, I just wanted to come and thank you for taking me to that meeting that day. He said, I haven't had a drink since that morning. It's almost been a year. I said, congratulations. He said, I was wondering if I can ask a favor of you. I said, if I can do it, I will. He said, will you come and talk at my 1-year AA birthday? I said, I'd be honored to do that, Ziggy. I went and talked to the group Bill a handful of years ago right in front of the room, big group, not this big, but a lot of folks. And I'll tell you, Colleen, I started crying. I couldn't get going. And I'll tell you why. I looked out, and there sitting at the front table in a suit and tie, looking like $1,000,000, with his wife and all his children, was Ziggy. And he was getting his 15-year medallion. Took him to his first meeting, talked at his 1 year, talked at his 5 year, talked at his 10 year, talked at his 15 year. You know where I was last summer? Ziggy's 20. You think my life doesn't have meaning? You think my life doesn't have purpose? I could stand up here for the next 2 hours. I'd be all alone, but I could do it. I could do it. Talking to you about things that have happened in my life since I came to this thing and did the one thing we have to do. God, the one thing we have to do for those new folks. You know what it is? It's the first step. It's the first step. We admitted to our innermost selves that we were alcoholic. I can go to any treatment center, any detox center, anywhere in the world tonight and say to those people, you powerless over alcohol and drugs? Oh, yes, sir, I am. They all know it here. I need to know it here. I need to know in the depth of my soul that my life depends on being with you people and taking these actions. I'll tell you what that step's about. It's about surrender. Surrender. I'm done. I'm finished. No more tough guy. No more big shot. No more Mr. Know-It-All. I'm done. I don't want to live this way anymore. I want to live the way you guys are living. Will you please help me? Will you please help me? And I become willing to do whatever it is you tell me I have to do. I don't need to like it. I don't need to agree with it. I don't need to think it's good for me. I just need to do it. And when I do that, I'm starting to walk in the sunshine. I'm going to be done. Yeah, we're done. I want to thank Nicole and the committee for the opportunity and privilege of being here this weekend. I want to thank you guys for your patience and kindness in listening to me tonight. You know, I don't know what's going to happen from here on in, and none of us know for sure, do we? You see, just because we get sober and become members of Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon, life doesn't stop happening. People die. Relationships end. Businesses fail. People get sick. Life goes on. But I'll tell you something. Every single morning for many years now, first thing in the morning, including this morning, I say to my friend upstairs, I say, if you see fit, I sure would appreciate it if you keep me in Alcoholics Anonymous. Because my dear friends, there is no place in this whole world I'd rather be tonight than right here with you fine, fine people. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you so much.